dedicated to empowering you with information
to make positive choices
and be advocates for your overall well-being.
Welcome to The Health View.
Welcome to The Health View. I'm Yvonne Dunetz, and today we're going to be talking about mindfulness in early childhood. My guests are Thurber, Director of Chapel School, and Renee Maloney, who is the School Family Liaison. Welcome. I'm so pleased to have you both. And let's just jump right into this, about talking about what is mindfulness. I know you have a visual that you'd like to show, so let's share that.
So one of the easiest ways that we've found to describe to our parents, and actually for me, even with the kids all the way up through parents and teachers, to describe mindfulness has been using this jar that just has water in it, and I have glitter in it. And what we'll typically do is we'll pass it around. I'll pass around glitter and have the children or the teachers or the parents sprinkle in and say what a thought or emotion is that they're putting into our jar. And once those thoughts and emotions are in here, so maybe somebody sprinkled in happiness, maybe somebody sprinkled in they were anxious, somebody sprinkled in that they were excited about something. And so the visual is that with all of our thoughts or feelings or emotions that are in our minds, this is what happens when we are in constant motion and when our mind is in constant motion. But when you actually take the time to be still, what happens is, and what we see visually here, is that the glitter or our thoughts or emotions kind of settle down to the bottom, and that creates space. And what I like to share is that's the space that allows us to have different thoughts, to make different choices from. And I also like to share, too, that while our thoughts or feelings or emotions are still present, it doesn't mean that they go away when we're being mindful, but we actually have maybe a better way of being with them. And again, the mindfulness creates that space to help us to make different choices and to help us to be more aware. So that's kind of the visual that I like to use at workshops and, again, with families and kids at school.
And it's beautiful because it shows a peaceful moment in the stillness.
It does.
It
And
really
I
does.
love it when the glitter drops to the bottom and I'm like, wow.
Yes, it's a great visualization. Now, what are the other things that you do with early childhood children, which range from what ages that you work with?
So 2 years that we have at Chapel School up through kindergarten.
Very good.
We've had programs there, and I'll let Renee talk a little bit more about the yoga piece. So yoga has been at Chapel School for a very long time. I'm also a brain gym instructor, and so we kind of started those two programs about the same time. It's been since like 2006.
So let's jump into Brain Gym. What is Brain Gym?
So Brain Gym is an educational movement program. And so it's based off of 26 different movements, and probably not a coincidence that there's 26 letters in the alphabet. Right. So there's a connection there. The person that created Brain Gym is from California, Paul Dennison. He was a kinesiologist, and he studied movement in the body and specific movements and what happened in your brain when you do those movements, or what happens in your brain when you do those movements. And so there's 26 different movements. I share them with the kids. One of the simplest pieces, and they actually call it a movement, which you may not think of it that way, is actually drinking water. So that's actually considered a Brain Gym movement. And so we do that with the kids all the time. We actually have water available for them all the time, because if your body is not hydrated, it's really challenging for you to focus. And so that's what we share with the kids, that's what we share with the parents, that that's an important piece for your body to be able to be hydrated to help you with your focus. So that's one of the first things that I do with the kids.
What are other examples of Brain Gym activities?
So other examples, other movements I can share with you. There's one called brain buttons that we can do together. So basically you're covering your belly button.
Okay.
And your other hand is just going up here, and you're doing just like a massage on your muscles here. And that's called brain buttons.
Okay.
And basically this movement helps with clarity. So you're helping, when you're doing this massage, you're actually helping blood flow and oxygen here, and the hand on the belly button is helping with grounding. And so you're getting focus, you're getting clarity. I actually did this before I came here today
Good.
to help me focus actually with my thoughts. We do it with the kids. My intention with Brain Gym with the children is to actually help them to be in the present moment. So that's really how I use the Brain Gym movements with the kids.
So let's give more examples.
Okay, so another example would be one called the owl, and you're just putting your hand, let me move my hair, putting your hand on your shoulder here, and you're looking over the shoulder, and I talk to the kids about actually kind of giving yourself a little squeeze or a massage here, and just breathing out, and the reason why it's called the owl is you kind of make an exhalation that sounds like an owl's hooing, so you're just going, hoo, hoo, like maybe 3 breaths out, and then you just want to do it, you always want to make sure you do it on the other side, so breathing out, hoo, hoo. So that's the owl.
And what else?
One of the favorites is thinking cap.
Okay.
So thinking cap is your fingers are on your ears here, and you're doing a gentle pull and a gentle unfold, and then you're just going to the top of your ear and going from the top of your ear down to the bottom, and that really helps with, it does help with your hearing, and it just helps them to kind of be more in the present moment with what you're doing. And I have songs for all these, which I won't share with you, but I think about them when I'm showing you these movements. So I have made the movements like a little bit more fun by actually adding songs because children love to sing songs.
Okay. Well, there's nothing wrong with giving an example of that with your next one that you show us. So what is the next
Double doodle.
movement?
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay, let's do it.
So let me mention about Brain Gym too. So one of the biggest pieces with Brain Gym is whole brain integration.
Yes.
So that's what these movements are helping with.
Yes.
So double doodle, you're using both of your hands.
Okay.
And so that's actually helping to activate both sides of your brain. So double doodle is, can you sing?
I'll sing it for you. I'm only
Is, and just going like this. Double doodle, use both hands, up and down and in and out, up and down and in and out, double doodle. Really big favorite of the kids because they love doing that, and we do that. They can do it on each other's backs. They can do it in the sand. They do it in the air. They could actually do it with paintbrushes in their hands and actually do a picture using both hands. And again, they're activating both sides of their brain.
Wonderful. Another
So-
example.
Another example, I've got
Positive
26
points.
to choose from. Positive points, thank you, Renee, is an awesome one too. So your fingertips are just going right above your eyebrows.
Right.
We talk to the kids about a feather-light touch, and sometimes when I do that, we'll have just a feather, and we'll pass it around so that they know how light that is. And just
Fine.
up here, I like to incorporate a lot of breathing, so they might close their eyes and just breathe in. And a lot of them like to stay there for a very long time. So that's positive points. So there's different categories for the Brain Gym movements, and that's in the positive attitudes.
Okay. How about two more examples?
Okay. Another one in the positive attitudes, I'm going to cross my legs here, and I'm taking my hands, connecting my fingers, and pulling up here. And this is called a hookup. And so basically you have everything in your body crossed. And again, here, you're just kind of taking a deep breath, closing your eyes. You could do this standing up, you can do it sitting down, you can do it laying down. And it's just, for a lot of kids, they find peace and calm here and stillness. So that's one of the
It's like a
another
body
favorite.
hug in its own way.
It is, it is, it definitely is. So that's a hookup.
Okay. Another example?
One more. One of them is I have created a song that's Mr. X, but basically the quote-unquote movement is them just closing their eyes and picturing the letter X in their head.
Right.
We make X's with our bodies, so together in a circle we might do this, we might do this, we might do this, and then I have them close their eyes for the X. And what I tell them is that when their eyes are looking at a crossed line, that again is helping to have both sides of your brain connect so that you have, I tell them they have a lot more choices that they can make when they're using both sides of their brain.
So the whole purpose of mindful games or mindful gym is to help balance both the right and left side of the brain.
That is one big piece of Brain Gym, yes, absolutely.
So now let's go towards mindfulness and meditation.
Okay.
Now you do a number of things with the children related to that.
Yes.
Let's give some examples of those things.
Okay. So with the mindfulness and the meditation, we in both that and with the yoga piece, we always put a big emphasis on breathing, because that's super, super important for the kids. So Renee has different breaths that she does with them that she can show you. I'll do just even, we use the singing bowl there.
Yes.
Where we'll
Why
just...
don't you do it as an example?
You want to do it? Okay. Where, I kind of don't want to, it's going to sing better if we don't hold on to it. So the kids know that when they hear our singing bowls sing, that that's kind of a signal to them to kind of get into their mindful body, to get ready for whatever we're doing. So it could be a mindful minute with me or doing yoga poses with Renee.
Let's give an example of a mindful minute and how you enter in it. You take a breath. So you've done
we
the
do
dog.
this, and they're typically sitting on the floor, so we sit crisscross applesauce. We'll take a breath. I remind them that their body, when they're in their mindful body, could be tall like a tree, so we really kind of get them to sit up nice and tall, or even using a mountain as an example. And so that gives them a visual to get into that mindful body. And what I might have then when we do a minute, so I'll just put a timer on my phone, I might have some flowers in front of us. And I say to them, we're just going to just be aware of and notice these flowers for a minute. And so we just sit there. We might do some breathing with it. And then when that minute is up, we talk about what we saw. And when you do that with those kids and they're that present and that aware about one thing, it's amazing what they tell you that they see about maybe buds, about the colors, about, they mention things that sometimes I don't even notice, about the pot that the flower is in or the dirt. I've done it with, we have 3 betta fish at our school. That's a really, really great thing to do because they sit there and they can just see that fish going all over, but they're still while they're doing that, and it feels really peaceful. And so a lot of times at the end of those minutes, I ask them how they're feeling. And we might start with how they were feeling before, and then, how are you feeling now? And what they say is, I feel calm, I feel peaceful, and we talk about those things.
So they're learning those words.
They are.
And learning the experience of the words. So they're learning how it is to feel in different situations at a very young age.
Yes. And we also talk to them about that it's okay if you're not calm and you're not peaceful. I think that's the biggest message that we share with the kids and we share with the parents, because you can't always be that way. The same thing like with our example here is those feelings and emotions don't go away, but one of the ways that I've talked with parents is talking about that mindfulness piece allows you to respond rather than to react. And so a response is coming from a more connected place. And so that's another big piece of it, of the whole mindfulness, and what we do is that connection.
I always say to people, we have a pocket by our side, and in that pocket we put tools in there. Some of that which we'll use every day, some in emergencies, some occasionally, and some we've learned but we might not use. And what it sounds like you're doing at a very young age is you're giving the children that participate in your educational programs the opportunity to learn tools that they'll have throughout their life. What is your most favorite thing that you enjoy doing with the children?
One of the mindful movements is the reaching for the sky and touching the earth. So we reach up, we breathe in as we go up, and then exhale as you go down. So that's one of them. The balancing ones I really like too. So these would be done standing up, but it's just doing an up, out, in, and down 3 times each leg.
Okay.
You're circling your leg as you're standing on one.
Yes.
The kids get giggly with that because they lose their balance.
Right.
Doing that on each side. And then hands on hips, and then just kind of doing a circle all the way around, and then changing direction. So that's almost all of the movements from mindful movements. And again, you can spend as much or as little time as you want with that, but they really will do the 3 breaths with all of those movements.
So between the mindful movements and the brain games, what are the benefits that you see for the children?
I see de-stressing, I see connection, and I see better communication.
Wonderful. And so in that regard, the bottom line is that the children become more comfortable in the environment that they're in, And it opens their brains, their mind, their bodies, and their spirits to be open to learning in a more profound way.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And from a parental point of view, so here these wonderful things are being done with the children. You focus on the parents.
Yep.
What are the things you're doing with them so that integrates into the home?
So the biggest thing we do for our parents, we both taught there, and we remember being in there with our children, our babies, and letting them go. And it's a big time in our families'
is,
lives. So we
yeah.
want to be there to support them and help them with that. So the biggest part for me as a parent educator is to make sure that they are learning how to connect with their children, and how to connect with their children when they're upset, when they're angry, when they're throwing a tantrum, when they're having a hard time, not only when it's an easier time to connect when they're happy and they're on vacation and all those fun things, but how do you stop what's going on in your mind, kind of like the jar, right? And just settle in, be with your child, hear what's going on, notice what's going on. A lot of our work is talking about looking at behaviors, not just for what behavior is, but what's going on underneath that behavior.
What's the meaning of it?
What
What
is
is
the
it
meaning?
trying to express? So give us an example of a tool that you teach parents that they can use so that they can be in touch with those feelings.
So back to what we do with the kids, a lot of it is breathing. Again, so not reacting right away. Knowing that you have a choice in that moment, you can choose to respond, or you can automatically react. And I think we're all used to what our automatic patterns are, what we're going to do in a situation. We get kind of fired up and we just react. But giving parents permission to not do that and to just take a moment and give a little space. You don't have to answer them right away. You do not have to address that behavior right away. And just be with your child in that feeling and acknowledge it. So first take a breath or two or three as a parent, and then acknowledge it looks like you're really mad. I think we're sometimes afraid to do that because it sounds like we're giving them permission, but they deserve permission to feel what they're
Absolutely.
feeling.
How else are they going to understand emotions and feelings?
Right, and we tie that in. In my classroom, I just gave out parents these little faces. There were 4. There was a red one for angry, a blue one for happy, green, sad and silly. So we use those in our classroom. So when they come in and when they go into the openings in the morning, they identify what they feel. So they are checking in with themselves more than with
Wonderful.
us. They're checking in with themselves. How are we feeling? Am I feeling a little unsettled? Do I know why I'm feeling that way? They may not, but we just tell them to notice, to be observant, to understand what you're feeling in this moment and know that it could change. And that gives them the freedom to let it go. I mean, how many parents, how many children do we know, I mean, myself included, you get locked into your behaviors.
That's
You
right.
just lock in, and this allows them to say, like, they'll come in and they'll put in sad. They might feel feeling sad that moment. After yoga or mindfulness, they want to change it. I'm good to go now. I'm feeling okay. And they want to make sure we know that they've checked in and they've noticed that. We want parents to do the same thing. We want to know, I'm feeling frustrated by my child's behavior. I don't know what to do. And that's okay. You don't have to know what to do. So a lot of it is connecting. A lot of it is breathing. A lot of it is being aware and noticing what your child's feeling.
And also noticing what you're feeling that perhaps you haven't had the time to take to reconnect with yourself. So what
Absolutely.
are some of the tools that you provide for parents?
Parents, I really advocate for them to just spend some time, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, doing a simple meditation. That often scares parents because their minds are busy. They got their lists of things they need to do, and they feel kind of guilty taking that time for themselves. But 5 minutes, 10 minutes of just breathing, count your breaths. A lot of us have a hard time focusing on doing nothing, so
Why
it's
don't you
hard.
give an example? Show us.
So you can count your breaths. You can just do like from number 1 to number 10.
Okay.
Each inhalation and exhalation is 1 breath. So you just sit, take a deep breath in. In your mind, you know that's 1 breath. And you do it again. That's 2, and you go all the way up to 10, and you just start over again. And what's funny is sometimes you're on 25 or 30, you've kind of lost track, or you don't know what number you're on, or you notice something else going on, your mind's busy, and we give them permission, just accept that. Know that it's there, accept that it's there, kind of like watching a cloud drift by, and let it go. And there's no expectation that you have to sit in this complete blissful, still moment for a large amount of time, just really connecting back. And you can use that throughout your day. When you're feeling frustrated, take 3 breaths for yourself. Slow, deep breaths. I think the breath is one of the most important things because we can carry it everywhere we go.
Absolutely.
I often say, like, if you're at the grocery store and you're rushing around, put both feet on the floor, ground yourself down, engage in your core, lower your shoulders, take a breath. It shifts in that very moment. It will shift things for you.
It really does. What other helpful tips can you give parents?
Parents, I think one of the most important things is to not feel like we have to fix our children's behavior and to allow their behavior to be. So if they're having a hard time, just reflect back. It looks like you're really upset with me right now. I can tell that you're mad because you're throwing that book across the room. And what we would want to do maybe is make sure they know they cannot throw that book across the room. It's disrespectful to do that. If you can let that go for a little bit and just imagine what it's like to be in that frustrated little person's body that has limited cognitive capabilities, doesn't understand everything that's going on around them and in their bodies, just be with them and say, yeah, that is kind of uncomfortable, that feeling. I can see why you would throw that book. And just kind of ally yourself with them, you get to see an immediate shift. Because when you're doing that, there's no reason for that child to act out at that point. They want to connect. Every child wants to connect. Every child wants to be successful. And if they're not being successful, it's just because they don't know how to in that moment. So we have to be there, be present with them, to allow them to be successful in their way.
What is the most best suggestion that you've given to parents that you have felt has really made a difference in their home life and with their children?
Letting go of all the things, all the stuff that they feel they need to do, all the lists, that's going to be there no matter what. This time we have with our kids is so precious and it's fleeting, and you want to make sure you're there for them emotionally and present. I know for myself, if I'm doing the dishes and I'm answering questions from my child, he knows when I'm really not listening. He wants the don't do the dishes, look at me listening. And if we take a few minutes of that, a couple of times a day where we're really invested in listening and focusing, they're going to feel that connection, and then you're going to build trust, and that's going to just last a lifetime.
Let's summarize the most important things that you would like parents as well as children and educators to know about the difference that they can make by utilizing these tools in their home settings as well as in school.
So I think if you're utilizing these tools, you're going to be happier, you're going to be calmer, you're going to be less stressed, you're going to be more connected, you're going to create an environment of trust in your home. You're especially with young children, you're building that trust now that's going to last through their adolescence, through their adulthood. They're going to want to come back to someone who's present and listening.
Edie?
And I actually want to echo that, as far as using those tools, teaching the children those tools. So it's going to be reciprocal, so the parents are going to be able to be there, be present, but the kids are going to also be able to be present. And the relationship that you're going to see is going to be a very different one. We see it every day when we are with the children and when we're just there and present and connecting with them. The response that we get from them, just your heart just fills because you're just so with them and they see that. And so when parents, if they're using these tools with the kids and then they're present with the kids, it's just this beautiful thing that I can't even find words for.
Well, there's an overall benefit when we really are seen for who we are and we have the ability to communicate and be heard for who we are and have that undivided attention and be present in each moment. It doesn't matter if you're an adult, it doesn't matter if you're a child. One of the essences of being a human being is wanting to be seen, loved, cherished, and cared for who you are and having that amazing connection. So you're teaching children at a very young age the importance of connection with their own thoughts and their feelings as well as with their parents together and as a family, and that to be courageous in attempting to just be present, be at one. Summarize what you said before related to what you want parents to do very quickly.
Just connect. That's my biggest thing. Connect with your children. Find what's special and unique about them.
And how can they find out more information? Is there a website?
So we have our school website is chapelschool.org, where they can see some of those things.
Well, thank you for everything that you're doing. We greatly appreciate it. Until next time.
Thank you, Yvonne.